All right, what we got here is a Plymouth Rat Rod, build number 10 right now. My name is Roger, and this is my 36 Plymouth right now. So I started off with an S10 idea about making a frame for the bottom of this thing, but now about 2 months later, and some Heights products at about $2,600, $27 with the shipping. It's here. I've got my frame in here. I did what's called channeling today. I knocked it down about 5 inches to get the stance the way I want to. So I'll show you the inside of this thing, and I got everything set up, and I did a couple little extra things with the height suspension geometry, so it gives me a little bit of a, I know it says positive caster 1 degree, but I always like to fly with my 55 Chevy at about a degree or maybe even 2 degrees of negative caster, so the wheels kind of like point out, helps you with the cornering. But again, it just gives me the ability to adjust it a little bit later on. So I'll show you what I actually did right here. This is the Heights front geometry right here, and in my last video I explained about the what's called the gauging plates, and I've got those in there spot on right now. And if you look right there where the holes are at, where the bolts come through, I just rounded those out and gave it about another 3/8 of an inch so I can actually adjust it out. And by moving this out right here, this direction, the top ball right here, the A-arm, I can actually go what's called negative caster right now, and what that does is it gives you a little bit of stance with your wheels kind of like pointing this way a little bit. I just played around with the geometry on my 55 for a long time, and it actually cornered a lot better that way. So anyway, what I got right now is I got the stance exactly the way I want it. I'm actually calculating in right now because I put some weight on this thing earlier today when I had the forklift out here with some stone. And it drops about a good 1.5 inches with about 1,000 pounds added to the front right now. So I'm thinking it's not really 1,000 pounds. It actually could be with the transmission and everything, but I still have a little bit of fidgeting room right now. What I did do is I took a coil off the front right here, which the Heights folks, the instruction says you can actually cut 1 coil off, and that's exactly what I did right now. So there's the other side right now, and I'll show you the inside. What I'll do is I'll show you this right here. You can actually, I don't have my rack and pinion in yet, so you can turn these wheels. I still got a little bit of play. I'm probably gonna have to watch about it if I go around curves and stuff, but that's the actual stance I want. And I'm gonna go with probably some 16-inch rims on this thing. And the nice thing about having the body on it right now, where it's gonna sit, I can go ahead and do all my backspace measuring with my rims and see how much room I have right here and just write that down. I'm getting ready to take off for 2 weeks, do a little business trip, and not going to have time to play around with it. This right here is about the stance I want right here. I like the back wheel. Look, I got a 1-inch difference from the back to the front. You don't see it right now because I'm calculating the engine dropping it in about 1 inch in the front. So what I'll do is I'll just pull this off probably for the last time. And very important to make all your little measurements right here, and that's exactly what I've done. I make myself these little notes, and I'll take this with me. In the hotel room in the evenings, I can sit there and surf Summit Racing and Speedway and Heights and maybe even Wheels Ventique and Wheelsmith and all those fine folks. And I'm probably going to look at about a 5.5-inch custom rim on the back. I like those artillery reels right now. I'm not going to put anything bling bling on here because remember, the body on this thing is going to stay looking exactly like it is. So I'm going to lift the body off of this thing here in a couple of seconds, and then basically wrap it up and push it outside with the forklift. Actually, I'll lift it up in the front right now with a pallet. So here's what I'll do. Slowly come up. It's actually slipping off. I channeled it. You can actually see where it's coming off right here. And I just, of course, I'll clean that up a little bit. And it looks like the back right now is hanging a little bit, so I'm going to have to persuade it to come up a little bit, and a couple more pulls, and I think I should be good. There we go. I know it sounds kind of rough right now, but yeah, it's off right now. So I'm gonna grab my little lifter right here, nice and slow. Okay. Go ahead and lift this sucker off, and I'll just give you what the frame looks like right now. So if you notice, it's actually got a little bit of lift to the front right now, but once the engine gets in here, it'll push it down that 1.5 inches, and the frame will actually be exactly perpendicular, or excuse me, parallel to the ground right now. So anyway, here are my heights, front geometry suspension. I actually love the way this thing turned out right now, and here's what I was talking about earlier right here. They're square in the back. I've increased them out here probably about 3/8 inch, it might even be a 1/2 inch, and just made them round. Just cleaned it up a little bit. That way I can come out this direction with those top of those A-arms right now. It gives them a little bit of adjustability. More than likely right now, I'll have to actually see once I put the rack and pinion in, where it sits on here and how much throw I have with the arms going out here for the steering control arms. But I'll see, that's not a big deal. I've actually sectioned that out before right here. But anyway, here it is right here. Like I said, gauging plates, lower tubular arms. And what you can do right here, I'm gonna try to get in really close, is right there is where I cut one spring off the bottom of it, excuse me. But I got the rubber on the top right here. I actually had it on the bottom, that was a mistake earlier. But once this thing actually sits perfect and it's got a little bit of weight on it, this all flattens out. And this right here is actually, again, parallel to the arm right now once you put a little bit of weight onto it. And I've done all my measurements and everything. I got a good solid, again, there's no weight on it whatsoever right now, so if you bounce up on down this thing right now, it'll go down about 2.5, 3 inches with the body and the engine. I'm going to take my engine and probably try to set it back as far as possible. I might even do a little bit of firewall work on here, because I just like to distribute most of the weight in the center. Again, I'm trying to get this thing so it actually goes down the road and drives pretty nice. So anyway, I'm going to put the body back on right now. Wife's got dinner for me, and that's about it. So one more time on the rear axle real quick here. That's a Ford Explorer, probably about a all the way from 1995 all the way to like 2003, I believe it was. Some of these things had lockers in them, what's called True Lock. So I've got that in here right now. And I used to actually crawl up underneath these things in the junkyard and get the tag off right here. Not on this tag right here, but there's a tag on there, and it'll tell you whether it's a locker or not. On the third or the fourth, it'll say L on there. It'll say 3, L, and then whatever the second number is, the gear ratio on the back of it. But a good friend of mine, Kevin, told me that just go into the door jams, and that's exactly what I've been doing so far. So I found this right here in the junkyard in Grafenwehr, Germany, by the U.S. Army, and I went in there and pulled it for, I think it's like $25 or $35, something like that. I mean, under $40. And then you put a little bling bling on it right now. I got my nice little discs in here. These things work great. Low car, the emergency brake cable fits right up in here, and I'll run into the front. And I took a couple of parts off the S10 that I had here earlier, and I'm going to use a foot brake assembly for that thing. This thing's actually going to get the column shifter in it, tilt, and be very nice on the inside, but it's going to look like this on the outside. And just a real quick pan around real quick. One more time. There's my truck, my parts hauling truck right now. I've had this thing for like 7 years, love it, and I know it's looking kind of rough right now, but it's flat black, and that's the way it's going to stay. I don't know if you can see my little bling bling motor up in there, but it's just a Chevy Crate, 290 horsepower, 350, nothing special. And then over here, one more time, I think I've already showed you guys this. There's my axle that's going to go to the junkyard here pretty soon. Excuse me, junkyard. We're going to eBay that sucker, and maybe one of my friends in the Rhine-Main cruisers can actually use it too. And then right here is what's left of the S10 frame, and I cut it in 1,000 little pieces right now, and my brother-in-law just take it to the scrap metal dealer. Anyway, I've been talking long enough right now. I got to clean myself up a little bit, take a shower, and get on back to the house. And then tomorrow morning early, I'm heading to the airport, like at dark 30. That's like 5 o'clock for civilian folks. I'm a civilian actually right now, but I work for the military. Anyway, cool beans. Really stoked about this. I got the stance right. I've got all my measurements down, so I can actually order all my parts right now while I'm on the road, my rims and everything, and then go from there. Here's what my channeling actually looked like. It's kind of ugly, but all this will clean up right here. I'll weld this all up. Same thing on this side right here, and the frame is about right here where my 5-inch mark was right there. So that's about it. So take care. Again, I love that little thing right there. The speedometer, I'm probably going to use that in the car itself. But take care anyway from YouTube. Auf Wiedersehen. Tschüss. Bis aufs nächste Mal. Tschüss. Auf Wiedersehen.